Welcome back everyone to the Coach Approach. It's pretty late, so I'm probably not going to be as loud, but I had a video in my head. I was actually sent this and recommended it. If you guys have any videos you recommend that I go over to see if they're clickbait, feel free to let me know in my Discord. Just send it to me in a DM and be like, hey, Blaker, I don't know if it's clickbait or not. Can you analyze it for me? And I will. So this video is called The 12 Steps to 20-Minute Wins Guaranteed as Jungle. Guaranteed is a pretty big word. There's just so many scenarios in League of Legends. It's really hard to say it's a guarantee, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. This video is from Skill Cap Challenger Guides. So I'll have the link in the description of the video itself below if you guys want to watch that by yourself. But without further ado, yeah, let's see if this is clickbait or not. All right, so like I said before, guarantee word is a little far-fetched. It's kind of hard to guarantee things in League. There's just so many variables, but we'll see. To close out a game in 20 minutes, guaranteed. Let's see. Maybe he says, maybe it's just a clickbait title, and maybe he's like, you can't really do it realistically. So we'll see. We'll see.
And welcome. In this video, you'll be learning how to follow 12 easy steps to guarantee 20-minute wins. You'll be learning the importance of securing early scuttles, how to convert your leads into objectives, a specific trick to using the Rift Herald, and so much more, all so you can get those fast and easy 20-minute victories. So let's jump straight into it with a replay from Griffin Tarzan, one of the best junglers in the world who currently has 2 accounts in Korean Challenger, one of which is actually in the top 10. The first step to getting quick wins is to play an early game jungler. Now don't worry, the majority of things that you're about to learn can still be applied to a scaling jungler, but obviously it would just be less effective. And to help you pick out a jungler for yourself, we've created a tier list of the best aggressive champions handpicked by our team of Challenger experts.
Okay, so what their handpicked Challenger expert team, they might have it, they might not. I'm pretty sure they do. Their videos are pretty much well made. Like they have definitely a design team, and they definitely have squads doing certain things, and there could be. But one thing that these players in high elo or these challenger players or whatever, honestly, they don't think about the little guys. They don't think about the low elo players. They don't think about the low brackets. And as a player that was there for a really long time myself, this thing to say, okay, we could pick these champions. You could pick early game junglers, and you'll close out games really easily. Like that doesn't work like that. If you don't understand the game, if you don't understand the fundamentals, no matter what champion you get, you're not gonna be able to close out a game in 20 minutes. And even for Smurfs, closing out a game in 20 minutes is hard. So I don't really agree with it now, but let's go over the champions. So OP champions: Rek'Sai, Elise, Warwick, Olaf, Lee Sin, and Echo. To close out a game early, I definitely would say probably Olaf is one of the best out of those picks there. S is Xin Zhao, Trundle, Jarvan, Nidalee. I don't agree with the Jarvan, and I don't really agree with the Xin Zhao. A is Udyr. Said I don't agree with. I don't agree with Udyr. Jax I don't agree with being an early game closeout. Volibear, okay. Rammus I don't agree with. And then the recommended is Warwick, Rek'Sai, and Xin Zhao. Now once again, these guys are pretty much tailored to people that won't mess up. So that's the hard part, and that's what gets a lot of people stuck. They think they can pull this stuff off, and it's like they can pull this stuff off if they're maybe a high elo player already and they're smurfing. This is not going to work in your own elo. I can guarantee you that, because if that was the case, you wouldn't be in your own elo right now, which is why I think it's kind of awkward to actually make videos like this, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But let's go ahead.
Now, here's the thing. When it comes to aggro junglers, they have a tendency to be some of the more difficult champions to play. For example, you'll find Lee Sin, Elise, Jarvan, Nidalee, Talia all on this list, but we definitely do not recommend just picking up these champions and expecting to win immediately.
Okay,
it can
good.
take a lot of time to master. That's why we created a recommendation section at the bottom for each elo bracket. If you're stuck in low elo, this is silver and below, then we advise that you start with Xin Zhao. He's very straightforward mechanically and has such a strong 1v1 that you don't have to focus on learning combos or matchups and stick to just developing your fundamentals. If you're between gold and master tier, then we recommend you pick up Warwick. Again, a fairly simple champion and has all the strengths of Xin Zhao, but has a few more combos and mechanics you'll have to master.
I disagree with the Xin Zhao, especially being played in that specific elo. You wouldn't want to. You guys can't close out your games, and I know this is supposed to teach you how, but Xin Zhao is very unforgiving. Um, if you mess up once, you're probably not going to be able to do anything later, and that's why I don't recommend that champion. Warwick is fine. I mean, I personally think any champion is fine in any elo. I don't really like when people say, well, this champ is better for this elo, this champ's better for this elo. It really just depends on how good you get with the champ. It doesn't really matter what champ is for what elo. So really understand that. And it's really, really easy for you guys to get better at the game versus just trying to pick whatever they tell you to pick in certain elos. Because like I said, that doesn't really resonate with me. That doesn't really make sense to me. But I do agree with the Warwick pick. So there's that.
And finally, if you're diamond or above, we recommend Rek'Sai. She's not the most complicated champion by any means, but her clear isn't as safe as the previous two and has more creative ganking options where you can express your skill. Alright, now that you've equipped yourself with an aggressive jungler, let's teach you how to use it. Now, we've taught you guys so many times how to identify which lane to gank early and path towards it, so we don't want to go over it again today. Instead, we want to address the common problem of what you can do when none of your lanes are very gankable. For example, in this game, Tarzan is playing Olaf against Kayn. In his top lane, he has Set against Kennen. Kennen is a...
Okay, so stopping it right here. This is a challenging game. So take whatever he's saying with a grain of salt because it doesn't apply to your games. It's a whole different realm. And if you're already a challenger, you're probably not watching this video. If you're a grandmaster, you're probably not watching this video. Maybe if you're watching if you're master, maybe you're watching if you're diamond. But take it with a grain of salt. It's not going to apply to your games because these players play way differently, especially in Korea. They're just grain of salt.
Ranged champion and has his E ability to escape. Not only that, but Set doesn't have the biggest engage before level 6. In the bot lane, we have Aphelios Fiddlesticks against Kalista and Thresh. Kalista and Thresh are a really safe lane with their escapability, and suddenly we see that neither side lane offers us great gank opportunities. So what should we do? Well, this is step 2, to try and start on the same side as the enemy jungler and match his early pathing. And how do you do that? Well, most junglers will start on the bottom side of the map and get a leash from their bot lane. So if you just do the same, the majority of the time, you'll accomplish this step. However, there are unique exceptions. For example, in this game, Tarzan is facing Kayn. Kayn starts Hunter's Talisman and usually wants to start red due to how fast he can clear Krugs and Raptors with his AoE abilities. So with no good ganks available, Tarzan chooses to start at his blue. This way, he'll be pathing towards the bottom side of the map along with Kayn. Since Tarzan is playing Olaf, which is a bit of a unique aggro jungler, he uses a trick of pulling the Gromp with his blue to clear faster, and then full clears to the bottom side of the map.
I wouldn't recommend trying to start learning that. Those are just little things you can kind of clean up later. You don't really need that to get the high elo. Definitely useful once you get there, but just as a lower elo player, and I mean anything in like diamond and below, you definitely don't need to. Maybe once you're probably high diamond, you want to get that tweak down basically in terms of what you want to clean up your pathing, make it faster, because having an efficient pathing, especially making it faster, is really, really important. As a jungler, just like I said before, it's not something you should be focusing on right now. Pulling the champion or pulling the camps back, kiting them, that stuff is definitely fine, but doing that type of stuff and those heavy mechanical type of things, it's just not worth it. And not all champions can do it. Also, I don't agree with him saying lanes are ungankable. Every lane is gankable at a certain time. You just gotta be really creative with it. So that's something else you gotta think about. He's saying that Thresh and Kalista are a safe lane. It's hard to gank, but Thresh is probably going to engage eventually. And if that's your like pathing, like if that's your win condition bot lane, then you would wait and you set it up like that. There's no such thing as an ungankable lane. There's just ungankable times, and that goes for every single matchup. So really think about that.
This is a standard strategy.
A good jungler will always know what's gankable, what's not gankable, and a good jungler will always know when to abuse the gank. So
Olaf, since he clears so fast. If you're playing a champion like Lee Sin, Elise, Warwick, or Xin Zhao, then you would just do blue, Gromp into red to spike a fast level 3 in this position. And suddenly, you can see how many attack opportunities you would have. You could immediately gank mid or bot, or if no ganks are available due to your laners pushing, well that's fantastic, then you have lane priority and can invade the enemy's jungle at their blue since you know he has to be there. And this brings us to step 3, always contest the first scuttle. Once Olaf has finished his early path, he immediately moves to deny the nearby scuttle from the enemy Kayn. This is one of the benefits of matching the enemy's early path. You can push him off this first scuttle. You can imagine if you started on the opposite side of the opponent, then they can safely farm, gank the side lane with no risk of a counter gank, and secure the scuttle without you being able to contest. After Olaf takes the scuttle,
I kind of agree and disagree. In order for you to actually get the scuttle right away like that, your laners do have to have priority. And I don't know if he meant to say them separately like that, but because he said Lee Sin, you can go and bait because they had a priority, and then he said next is a scuttle. So you don't really want to go for scuttle unless you have priority. And if you don't have priority, ping your team, let them know like, hey, I want to go for this, kind of square off with the jungler. If nobody moves on your team, then you just gotta dip. Doesn't matter how strong you are of an early game jungler. You still have to respect the fact that they are laners that can come get you, and you don't want to throw your lead away just because of a scuttle crap.
Kayn leaves to take the scuttle topside. I just want to point out, Olaf could totally just follow him and deny him the top scuttle as well. The reason why this is a bad idea in this case is that he lacks lane priority in top and mid, so the enemy laners would be able to collapse and defend.
Exactly.
If instead his set was pushed up top and had lane priority, well then Olaf would definitely look to match Kayn and contest him at the second scuttle as well. So Olaf looks for a gank bot side, realizes there isn't any available, and recalls to head to the top side of the map where his camps are starting to respawn. You have to realize, if Olaf spends too much time bot side trying to force this gank, it reveals him on the map. And the enemy Kayn will be able to steal his Gromp and Wolves, since we know he's topside and they will be spawning soon.
Agreed.
After Olaf takes the Gromp, Kennen is overextended top, and so he moves to gank. Getting Kennen's flash in the process. This leaves a fantastic opportunity for Olaf to land a repeat gank.
Definitely think he could have pathed a little bit differently for that gank to work. Maybe have a little bit more commitment before he went for that gank. Yeah, so he basically kind of explained the same thing that I said about having priority. But also, as you see, he said this lane, is pretty much ungankable. What do you do when you have ungankable lanes? And then Olaf goes to gank this lane. Lanes are gankable at certain times, no matter what matchup it is. You just have to be ready for it if that's supposed to be the side you're playing on, or if you have to rotate to that specific lane.
Something you should always be looking out for when a laner has their flash on cooldown. When we take a look at the minion wave, we can see it's frozen near set. If Kennen recalls, then walks all the way back to lane, he will fall massively far behind if set maintains this freeze. So naturally, Kennen uses his teleport to get back to lane faster so he doesn't fall behind. Awesome, Kennen's flash and teleport are now on cooldown. But when we look at the wave, we can see it's now pushing towards Kennen as the minions are starting to build up. This is actually fantastic. It means if we kill Kennen, he's going to lose a massive wave afterwards. So there's a lot more going on than just Olaf ganking to get a kill on the flashless Kennen.
Once I said before, this is a challenger game. This is not going to happen in low elo games. And I definitely don't recommend you trying to set up a dive like this and expecting it to go well in your elo, especially with random players. Once again, grain of salt, guys. This is definitely not your type of game. And it's not even your server. Most of you guys, it's not even your server. I don't think I've met anybody that's from Korea that ever watched my videos. So if it's you, give me a shout out, please, because I want to see. But yeah, grain of salt, grain of salt.
You have to realize, if Kennen survives this gank, he's actually screwed anyways, since he'd be low on health. Set and Olaf could just crash the wave, setting up a dive on Kennen if he stays, or just zoning him and forcing him to recall.
Also, one thing that he didn't mention was the fact that Kayn should be kind of going topside too. Remember when he said specifically, we're gonna start the same side so that we can match Kayn. Well, if he started the same side, then Kayn should be top with Olaf, right? Which then means you have to be careful for a counter gank. And if a counter gank happened at that specific time, that could have been really, really bad. So once again, grain of salt. And just remember, when you're doing that, you want to make sure that the ganks are uncontested. You need to make sure you know where the jungler is if you plan on going for a dive like that.
Either way, it's a win. The greatest part is that we actually know there's no way for us to be counter ganked by Kayn. Remember, we saw Kayn going for the top scuttle earlier. Then as we headed topside, we saw our camps are respawning. Well, so are Kayn's, since he started on the same side as us. So while we're clearing our topside camps, so is he. The difference is, we then move to look for the gank topside. In that time that we're executing the gank, and then a repeat gank afterwards, Kayn will have already moved to the bottom side of the map.
Incorrect. Players are smart. I've definitely seen players counter gank, no matter what champion it is. Do not, grain of salt, do not think that this scenario will happen in your games every single time. I guarantee you it won't, even no matter what elo bracket you're in. People, junglers are just they're really fickle. They don't always have one way to play, no matter what champion it is. You might expect that they do, but if they're a one trick, they definitely know what they're doing, and they definitely need to be respected. This is why some of these guys are really hard to follow, and why you guys don't see really much success with them, because a lot of these are like scenario based. A lot of these things expect your game to go perfectly, and like perfectly down to what he's reviewing, and that's the problem. Games don't do that, as we all know, because if that were the case, the game A would be boring, but B, you'd be winning a lot more if you knew everything that everybody was going to do.
Alright, so you should have accomplished a few things by now, denying at least one scuttle from the enemy, maybe killing him there or an invade, and having pressured the map with a gank or two. By this time, you will notice the second scuttle will be spawning. This is such an important timing, so listen up. This is step 4, it's pivotal that you secure the second scuttle spawn. This is for two reasons. First, it's just free gold and experience that you're also denying from the enemy jungler. Second is that it leaves you with attack opportunities. Specifically, the second scuttle spawn will often spawn at a similar time to the enemy's buffs respawning. This leaves you with a great invade opportunity where you can then steal their camps like raptors and red. Remember, you'll be stronger than the enemy jungler due to the champion you've selected and the previous steps you've accomplished. This is why you want to take advantage of this and continue the aggression.
Situational. You're not always going to be stronger than the other champion. He just is right now. You're not always going to be on the same side. And you really got to realize that you can't be collapsed on. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Which leads us into step 5. Don't be afraid of the 2v2.
One more thought is that junglers that know, especially in higher elo, that know they'll be invaded or that know that they'll be counter jungled, they'll ward. So grab your scanners, grab your pinks, because you don't want to be spotted once again and just be collapsed on.
You don't want to play scared. Realize you're piloting an aggressive jungler with an advantage, so use that advantage as early as you can, as even-numbered fights should nearly always be in your favor.
Some champs. There's a difference between being calculated and there's a difference between just being dumb. Olaf can pull off being dumb because he's built to be stupid, basically. He can do a lot of stuff, but the Rek'Sai, you gotta calculate. You can't just go in for a 2v2 and think you'll win. Warwick, more or less, you can pull it off. It's Warwick, but still calculate it a little bit. Xin Zhao, definitely calculate that. You don't want to make that mistake. So the only champion that I think you can really just pull off a 2v2 or 1v1, however you would like, is Olaf. But even then, calculate. Don't just run in because you're that early game champion. You can do whatever you want. It won't work.
Biggest risk isn't even numbered fights at this point, it's actually having the enemy jungler split the map in half vertically. This will cause him to avoid fights with you, while still being able to farm freely and gank lanes without being counter-ganked. When this happens, it's like you're giving them a free pass to outscale you. I quickly want to mention that we have over 100 challenger tailored, confident that it will work. Why not? Lead for yourself. In step 6, it's now crucial to convert your lead into objectives. Specifically, I want you guys to memorize the 9-minute and 10-minute mark, as this is when you should start shifting your attention towards Dragon and Rift Herald. You can't just keep ganking lanes and getting kills. This is how you inevitably throw through giving shutdowns and getting outscaled. You have to start converting into long-term objectives.
I agree.
Just as important, possibly even more so than the first Dragon, is getting that first Rift Herald. There is a reason you need to go for this around the 10-minute mark, as turret plates will fall off at 14 minutes in game. You can easily get 3 turret plates using the Rift Herald, which nets you 480 gold, more than 1.5 kills. So with Dragon and Rift Herald taken, step 7 is to be looking to use the Herald before that 14-minute mark. You can see Tarzan quickly identifying a timing window to drop it mid lane, securing a couple plates for him and his team before they expire. Great, so now the objectives should be off the map. At this point, you can move into step 8. Look to start invading and stealing the enemy's jungle camps instead of just farming your own.
So using the Rift Herald, I always tell students that I coach to use it after a play. Don't just drop it randomly. Don't just go for those plates, because most of the time, especially if you're watching this video, you don't really know how to put that gold to use, and your teammates damn sure don't. So what you want to do is you want to do it after a play. So let's say we go for a gank. Boom, it works. Drop the Rift Herald. What you see in this clip was he just dropped it to get the plates. But you really don't see what happened before. You don't see what happened after. It's just him dropping it. Edits can make things look a lot better than what they are, and I think any player that's in high elo would definitely recommend trying to get more out of it if you can. Don't just drop it to get the plates. Definitely try to get more than the plates. You can usually get 2 towers, if not more. The highest I've gotten was 6. I dropped it down bot. My team was mid, and they pushed. Their team couldn't deal with me, and their team couldn't deal with them, so they just had to let us push, and we got 6 towers and 2 inhibs. So definitely do it after a play. Don't just drop it randomly for plates, because you probably don't know how to use that gold anyway, and it's really hard to learn that mechanic about the game until you are in higher elo in the situation where the games close out really, really quickly.
The reason for this is that if you head into your own jungle to farm, you're often putting yourself off the map while letting the enemy jungler farm as well. By stealing the enemy's camps, it puts you in an aggressive position to pressure lanes, while also denying farm from the enemy. This prevents them from starting to farm and outscale. Moving on to step 9, it's to focus on your winning lane and destroying their outer tower. Do not try to impact losing lanes to help them with your lead, as this is a huge mistake players make. By destroying the tower of your winning lane, you will then free them up to start rotating and impacting the rest of the map with their lead. Alright, the laning phase is starting to come to
situational. Sometimes your win condition is the losing lane. Sometimes you need to get the losing lane out so they don't have to keep feeding. So like if your bot lane's going into Blitzcrank or Thresh or something like that, or a Pike, getting them out of lane is just much better than keeping them in lane and forcing objectives elsewhere, because 2 people, especially an ADC and a support, getting out of lane and being able to rotate versus a top laner or a mid laner with a jungler, it's not ideal. You will see in high elo play, no matter what server you're on, the towers that the junglers usually try to get things down is the win condition. So if someone's fed, it's a different story, but just winning isn't enough to give up the win condition and not help. So situational once again.
To an end, and we're now getting into more macro play. Step 10 is to go for the Dragon and Herald when they respawn. This should be your primary focus. If the enemy tries to contest you, you'll be far ahead enough to win fights.
Just a side note about the win condition. You're probably thinking, well, how do you know what the win condition is? Well, if you have like a Garen top beating a Fiora and he's like 3-0, and you have a bot lane that's like 0-2 and support's like 0-2, but that Garen's not going to be your win condition, right? If you get out of early game to mid game, and then it's starting to go to late game, and your ADC is just getting handled because they keep dying over and over and over again, your Garen is not going to carry through mid to late. You see what I mean? So you have to really think about what's the win condition. Okay, if our win condition is split pushing, getting high lane so he can rotate, yeah, that's cool. But if your win condition is specifically like you need to make sure that your ADC gets out alive, so it's like Draven or Lucian, stuff like that. If it's like Jinx, you can kind of let them suffer a little bit because they will scale. So it's really situational and it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to do videos like that to make it seem like, oh, well, this is always going to be your win condition no matter what. So do this. This is always going to be right. Do this. It's hard to do that, and that's why I don't like making videos like that. And that's why that seems a little confusing on what I said, because I can't be like, this is always going to be your win condition. It changes every single game. Everything is situational.
Again, the idea here is to convert your early lead into objectives that scale into the late game. Step 11 is to save that second Rift Herald that you take, looking to use it to take a possible 20-minute inhibitor. Check this out. Tarzan continues to hold the Rift Herald as he moves around the map. It's not until he spots an opportunity bot side that he places it. This is due to the fact that he saw 4 of the enemy champions on the minimap. This told him that only Kennen was defending bot side.
Exactly. So basically, make a play for it. He just made a play for it, and it's getting him more things. Do that in the first one too. Don't just drop it first for plates. Don't do that.
At the same time, the rest of his team is pressuring towers, making it difficult for the enemy to rotate. By saving the second Rift Herald, he was able to get a 20-minute inhibitor. And here is what's so great about this strategy. By converting your early lead into all of these objectives, you're actually able to die and not just throw the entire game. You see, in this fight, the enemy just got 2 700 gold shutdowns on Aphelios and Olaf. If all you do is get a gold lead through kills, then these shutdowns catapult the enemy back into the game. However, since we got objectives like towers, dragons, Herald, Inhibitor, along with stealing jungle CS, these are things that don't impact your shutdown gold and the enemy can't get back by killing you. So many early game junglers throw their leads by not converting kill gold into other advantages, resulting in inevitable shutdowns being far more impactful than they should be. Now for the final step.
So this specific game is kind of awkward. The reason that they can't really catapult themselves back is because those champs really just don't scale. And their team comp is just kind of whack. So throw that back in there too. Even if they did happen to come back, I mean, their team is still going to roll over them because they just have kind of the better picks. Situational, once again. You throw on your lead to an Aphelios or a Jhin versus throwing your lead to a Callista or a I want to say or like a Lucian. Like, they're not going to scale as hard. So
Step 12. It's now that you need to start controlling vision around Baron. This is the trick to ending games. Use control wards and a sweeping lens to deny the enemy vision. Without vision, they either have to face check, which leads to a winning team fight, as we can see was the case in this game with Olaf, or they let you kill the Baron, in which case that leaves you with a game-winning push shortly after. Getting vision control around Baron and playing around it is the key to ending games. Okay, so let's quickly recap the 12 steps. 1. Pick an aggressive champion from our tier list. 2. Try to start on the same side of the map as the enemy jungler to match his early pathing. 3. Always contest that first scuttle. 4. Secure the second scuttle that spawns. It will leave you with an invade opportunity on the enemy's buff since they're spawning. 5 is to not be afraid of 2v2s. If you're ahead early, either in gold or due to the jungle matchup, you need to act like it. 6 is to convert your leads into objectives. Don't just keep going for kills, look to take Dragon and Herald. 7. Use the Rift Herald before the 14-minute mark to get gold from the turret plates. 8. Start invading and stealing the enemy's jungle instead of your own. This prevents you from being outscaled. 9. Focus on your winning lane and destroy their outer tower so they can start rotating around the map. 10. Go for the dragons and Rift Herald when they respawn again. 11. Save that second Herald for a possible 20-minute inhibitor. And finally, 12. Control vision and play around Baron. This is the key to ending games. Alright.
Finally, 13. This is situational. Your game's never going to go this perfect. 14. You have to be a really insane player to end games at 20 minutes. The only reason this happened is because this is Challenger in Korea. 15. Take this with a grain of salt, please. 16. Not to BM them or anything like that. But this definitely is about, if I had to rate this a percentage of clickbait, it definitely would be about 85 to 90% clickbait, because the other stuff that they told you, you already knew. You already knew to take dragons. You already knew to take barons after 20 minutes. You already knew to grab Rift Herald. That's not really a surprise. Maybe to like bronze. But I've coached bronze players and they'd still go for that Rift Herald. So yeah, I definitely think this one's clickbait. Yeah, I just definitely think it's clickbait. I don't really like this one. If you guys have any suggestions on any videos that you want me to analyze to see if it's clickbait or not, feel free. If you guys want to support my videos that are like this, or the other videos that I have on the channel, or the events and activities that I do in my Discord, feel free to join my Patreon as well. Link description below. You'll see some secret videos that I have about climbing. I'm also going to be making guides to champions and roles too within that Patreon, and that also comes with some VOD reviews and some coaching sessions. So check it out. Like I said, this is a pretty late video, so I'm sorry I'm pretty quiet. I just was sent. I was sent. It was sent to me, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. I can't believe this was made. Like, you cannot pull this off every single game, and you will be really disappointed that you're losing, and you will think, oh, it's my fault. I'm just not good enough. It's just, oh, this shit does no. This ain't gonna happen every game, unless you're a Smurf. So, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Like I said, if you guys have any other videos, just link them to me either in the comments or join my Discord and just link them to me in the Discord. Be like, and tell me why you want me to look at it. So, without further ado, have a good day, good night, good evening, good afternoon, and thank you guys for approaching this like a coach.